I hope one day y'all will get to experience the Change Band in person. As soon as they create electronic trombones, you gotta come back. It's gonna be a great time. I wanna introduce our special guest preacher for today. She is a friend of mine. She is a minister at the Lay-Led Church in Oakland called First Congregational Church of Oakland. Nicola Torbett is a spiritual seeker, gospel preacher, podcaster, writer, resistance fomenter, dog walker, and nonviolent direct action trainer. Driven by her passion for both spiritual formation and social change, she co-founded Seminary of the Street, a training academy for love warriors in 2009. And then she co-founded Second Acts, a liturgical direct action affinity group in 2014. She's the co-editor of Recipiscence. I can say Recipiscence, but I can't say Azerbaijan. Recipiscence, a Lenten devotional for dismantling white supremacy, and a frequent contributor to The Word is Resistance, a podcast from Surge Faith. Surge is standing up for racial justice, as well as to In Flesh, radicaldiscipleship.net, and G's Magazine. She is a friend of Glide's and she's a friend of mine. Nicola Torbett, everybody.
Thank you so much, Marvin. Thank you, Glide, both those who are gathered here and those online. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. This has been a very important pulpit and one that I have watched for a long time. So this is called Your Integrity is Not Flammable. There is a part of you that can never, ever be taken from you, cannot be sullied, cannot be co-opted, cannot be killed. This part of you is something I will call your integrity. It is made up of who you are created to be, the people you come from, the web of life that has sustained you all these years. Your integrity is your umbilical cord connecting you to the source of all the love in the universe. And that connection can never be severed. It can be ignored. It can be buried. You can try to walk away from it, but it will never actually leave you. Your integrity is not flammable. Let me tell you a story. Once, not so very long ago, there were 3 young people. History has assigned them he, him pronouns, but I don't think history asks. So we will just refer to them by their names. Except that their real names have been lost to us. You see, these young ones, their people had been overrun by a mighty and land-hungry empire. And the most promising young people, including our subjects here, were taken away as prisoners of war, seized from their families and communities and brought to the emperor's court, where they were re-educated or civilized, if you will. Think Indian boarding schools, think re-education camps, think scholarship kids at the private boarding schools. As part of this process, these young people were given new names, names from the imperial language, names that maybe were easier for their captors to pronounce, names that made more sense to the good citizens of the empire. How many know that naming is power? Our friends' new names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were smart and talented kids. So the functionaries of the land groomed them for leadership. Leadership within the very empire that had ripped their lives and their families apart. This is what empires do. They offer us secure roles in exchange for our loyalty to the regime. Anyway, around this time, the emperor fashioned for himself a god, a golden statue that he had placed just outside the courtly walls. I don't know the name of this god, but it might have been named the economy, or profit margin, or respectability, or social status, or whiteness, or buy now before this deal gets away, something like that. And then the emperor issued a decree to all those who kept the empire running: the judges and lawyers, the doctors and social workers, the teachers and nonprofit directors, the pastors and the Amazon warehouse workers. Henceforth, he said, because he loved to use fancy words like henceforth. Whenever you hear the sound of the advertising jingle, the cash register, the Venmo app, the police siren, the national anthem, the text notification, or the ice cream truck, you will bow down and worship the God of the empire. And whoever does not bow down and worship will be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the advertising jingle, the cash register, the Venmo app, the police siren, the national anthem, the text notification, or the ice cream truck, the people of all races and ethnicities, all genders and sexual orientations, all job descriptions and social positions bowed down to worship the God that the emperor had set up, the God of the money and the status and the respectability. Now, around this time, some especially ambitious subjects of the empire came forward. Maybe they were clergy with a thin veneer of propriety. Or maybe they were Karens with concerns about law and order. Or maybe they were just trying to curry favor with power. But anyway, these favor-seeking ones denounced our three captive bureaucrats, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, saying, "Oh, Emperor, you great one, you have issued a decree that whenever anyone hears the sounds of the advertising jingle, the cash register, the Venmo app, the police siren, the national anthem, the text notification, or the ice cream truck, they should bow down and worship the God of the more money or more status or more respectability. But there are three oppressed people who will not bow down." Then in a rage, the emperor called for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to be brought before him and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not worship the gods that I have set up and do not serve them? Now, if you are prepared, when you hear the sound of the advertising jingle, the cash register, the Venmo app, the police siren, the national anthem, the text notification, or the ice cream truck, to bow down, then well and good. But if not, you shall immediately be thrown into the blazing furnace. And what God will come to your rescue then?" And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "Sir, we have no defense to present to you in this matter. If the God we serve, the God of integrity and liberation and love, can save us, then let them save us. But if not, let it be known to you that we still will not serve your gods and we will not worship the golden statue that you have set up." Enraged, the king ordered all his servants to assemble, the judges and lawyers, the doctors and nurses, the teachers and nonprofit directors, the pastors and the Amazon warehouse workers. Then in front of everyone, he ordered his court police, his border patrol, and his military to seize Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He had them bound, mouth, hands, and feet, and he ordered the furnace heated to 7 times its usual temperature. When they had done this, he ordered them to throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the flames. Eyewitnesses report that the furnace was so hot that those soldiers who threw them in were consumed instantly. In just a little while, the emperor's mouth fell open in astonishment, and he called his closest advisors and asked them, "Was it not 3 people that we had bound, mouth and hands and feet, and thrown into the flaming furnace just now?" "Yes, sir," they replied. "Why then do I see 4 people walking around in the flames, unbound and unharmed, and with the 4th having the appearance of a god?" Terrified now, the emperor ordered the furnace door to be opened, and out stepped Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, completely unharmed. And the emperor fell to his knees and worshiped the God of integrity, love, and liberation. This is a story adapted from the book of Daniel, chapter 3. Who are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? What were their names before the empire got hold of them? Their names might have been Colin Kaepernick, or Lil Nas X, or Harsha Walia, who was just fired from her civil rights organization for tweeting the phrase, "burn it all down." Maybe their names were Edward Snowden, or Nicole Hannah-Jones of the 1619 Project, or Tanya Abid of the Anishinaabe women who are fighting the Line 3 oil pipeline in Minnesota. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are the whistleblowers, the water protectors, the Black freedom fighters, the boundary bosses who know their own limits and honor them, the lovers of life, the queer and trans people who insist on being who they were created to be, the revolutionaries by birth or by choice who will neither bow nor bend, nor worship the God of the dominant culture. In other words, how you're supposed to act. In a sense, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego could bear any of our names. In the context in which we are now living, we are all prisoners of war in the attack on our humanity and on life itself. Some of us, granted, are made to feel more comfortable within that regime than others. Those of us who are white, those of us who are cisgender and heterosexual, those of us with wealth. While our integrity is not flammable, it is sometimes hard to locate beneath the layers of privilege. But the point is that we are all, in one way or another, being groomed to take our place within the systems of extraction. For some of us, the only legal way out of poverty is to join the police force or the border patrol or the military. The same organizations that terrorize the people we come from. Others of us are tricked into positions where we think we can help, only to find that we are gatekeeping access to resources or teaching others to become better cogs in the machine that is ripping up their lives. The point is that we are all, in one way or another, being asked to bend our knees to the gods of empire. Our bodies are broken from the bending. Our knees are calloused from the kneeling. Most days, my own legs buckle before I even think about it. But Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego model something different. They would not bow, they would not bend, they would not worship the false gods of the empire. They chose instead their loyalty to the poor people from whom they came, their loyalty to the endangered orangutan and blue whale and the redwood tree, and their loyalty to what they know to be true, that their integrity was not and is not flammable. That the God they knew, the God they worshiped, the God who made them who they are with all of their creativity and brilliance and resourcefulness that caused the empire to promote them in the first place, the God who was their creativity, brilliance, and resourcefulness because they were created in that God's image, that same God who created the coral reefs and the rainforest with all their creatures, that God was worth standing with. And so they said no to the worship of the gods of empire. And they were not obstreperous about it. There was no bravado in their words. This was not a "my God can whoop your God" kind of thing, a triumphalist smackdown in the divine boxing match. These young resistors say, we don't actually know whether our God can save us. But what we do know is that we can't bow down and worship all of this. This kind of vulnerability, I think, is both our birthright and our true condition. It is what it means to be human. And it is only the privileges of empire that make us confused about this. The truth is, when it comes right down to it, we have only our love to save us. Many of those who will not or cannot bow down to the gods of prosperity or heteronormativity or whiteness because of who they are and who they have been created to be, many of them do not survive, not in body. What our faith teaches us is that even if we are thrown into the flaming furnace, even if we are hung from a cross or a lynching tree, even if we are condemned by the family or the nation that birthed us, even if the worst happens and our bodies are burned up, there is something that lives on, something that cannot be consumed, because our integrity is not flammable. Now, I want to be clear, not everyone has equal access to this choice. For some, it is bow down or don't eat. Worship, or your children will not eat. So resistance cannot be some heroic individual effort. Our integrity is not individual. It binds us in solidarity to others so that we can transform the systems that ravage our people. And all people are our people. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were able to take the risk they did because they were part of a larger community of resistance. That's Glide. They knew their connection to their people and to the web of life. They felt that umbilical cord that connected them to all things. Integrity is not flammable, but neither is it individual. And this brings us to that mysterious fourth figure in the flames, the one the emperor saw walking with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the one who had the appearance of a god. Christians can't help but read this fourth one as Jesus. And I believe that is right and true, in the sense that Jesus was a brown-skinned man who likewise would not or could not bow to the systems who were destroying his people, and who instead, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, chose to love to the death. The fourth one in the flames, I think, is the incarnation of all the love of all the people throughout all history who have chosen to stand with life, rather than bend to the false gods of profit or status or comfort or safety. I'm talking about Mahatma Gandhi and Mike Brown, Stephen Biko and Bob Moses, who I just heard joined the ancestors this morning, Nelson Mandela and Alex Nieto, Martin Luther King and Philando Castile. There is a fellowship of the flames, a fire family that ensures that when we risk ourselves for love, we will never walk alone. Our vulnerability is made strong in community. Friends, in a time of this much violence and exploitation, we are either functionaries tending the furnace or we are bound for the fire. Some of us get to choose, others do not, are bitten by the bullet before they have a chance. So many beloveds have already crossed through the flames to join the fellowship of fire. If you look, I think you can make them out. They're celebrating there, dancing there, living and loving and waiting to welcome us home. Because like them, because of them, our integrity is not flammable. Amen. Amen.